Hi everyone, we're Group 3 and we're presenting Learning Management System using Java Programming for ICT Students in Asian Institute of Computer Studies for school year 2020 to 2021. But before the researchers start to discuss about the content of our chapter 1 to 5, we, the researchers, would like to thank Mrs. Ablay for approving our questionnaire in March 10, 2021, where we finally start to conduct a survey to ICT students in Asian Institute of Computer Studies.
Also, we would like to acknowledge our thesis to the Almighty God in giving us strength and wisdom that can help us in fulfilling our thesis. We also want to express our gratitude to our family, friends, and loved ones who didn't stop to give motivations and inspiration, especially to the hardest days. And to Mrs. Ablay, our instructor, for giving us advice and suggestion in order to accomplish our thesis.
And lastly, we would like to dedicate our research study to God, family, friends, and every people who support us through this journey.
Before proceeding to Chapter 1 to 5, I would like to introduce our table of contents, where we list accordingly the pages and the topics in every part. The list of the table also shows the pages and title we use in presenting the data for Chapter 4, and as well as the list of the graphs where we also use to present the profile of the respondents.
Have prior knowledge, I will discuss our abstract before my classmate starts to explain the content of our study. We are all aware that the whole world was experiencing COVID-19, and because of that, some changes happen these days. One of that is online learning or online education. For students, where the students can participate in online discussion with their teachers and classmates, with the use of learning management system like Teams or Google Meet. And because many students are using LMS, the researchers wants to promote an LMS which can be created using Java programming for ICT students in ICS. So after Mrs. Ablay approved our questionnaire, we began to create a survey questionnaire using Google Forms to conduct a survey to students by sending the link for the survey. Then after the survey, we analyze the data gathered and starts to design the LMS, which we name Aspire, meaning to accomplish a particular goal after analyzing the data gathered. We figure out that the most of the answers of the respondents was also the goal of the Aspire LMS. Therefore, we believe that Aspire Learning Management System can be beneficial for both instructors and learners.
Moving on and presenting on our prototype design, we came up with an idea to have a prototype design that is simple, with comfortable colors and easy to manage system, so that some older instructors or not much technology inclined users can still use learning management system efficiently. Aspire Learning Management System also requires a Google account with two-factor authentication to guarantee the security and privacy of the users.
After presenting the initial pages and the prototype designs, let's now move on to the content of the chapter 1 to 5, where we can understand more about our study.
Hi everyone, I am Kala Katyao and I'll discuss the introduction about our study. Most of us are suffering because of the pandemic, and we, the students, are also affected. Based on the UNESCO, almost 143 countries worldwide were affected by the pandemic, and almost 1.2 of the students is also struggling. In order to continue the education of the students, online learning was implemented. The online education is conducted in the use of learning management systems like Teams or Google Meet. So, what is Learning Management System or LMS?
Hi everyone, I'm Jeffrey Salvo. Learning Management System or LMS is a technology-based online learning where the users can do training sessions or virtual meetings for discussion according to Tombow, Chu, and Locke. This system uses electronic devices where users can store or send files, images, or videos online.
By the use of learning management system, Both students and instructors can conduct an online discussion effectively. So, the researchers promoting an LMS that was created by Java programming for ICT students. But what is Java programming?
Hi everyone, I'm Lester Shinabilia. Java programming is a general purpose of programming language that is used developing apps and software.
The researchers suggest Java programming in creating an LMS because the codes in Java were simple and easy to understand, that even students can also make it. Java programming was also taught in different computer schools like ICE. In addition, LMS can be used for higher education and other institutions that need trainings for their staffs. The researchers believe that in the use of Java programming, learning management system can easily be made and provides different functions that can be used for both instructor and learners.
Hi everyone, I am Alan McRamus and I will discuss about the background of our study by finding some journals, books, and articles. We have found some backgrounds about LMS in Java. Java, generally purpose programming language, was initially intuitive television, but it was too trend for computerized media at that time. So the group called Green Group was the first one who starts the project in building a programming language for gadgets. After that, Java Innovation was merged in Netscape, a computer service company that time their standard in making a Java was basic, powerful, and versatile stage, autonomous, get superior, multi-threaded, architectural, neutral, object-oriented, interpreted, and dynamic. Then, James Gosling, father of Java, successfully created the Java in 1995. To finally formalize then Java, Sun approached the ISO, IEC, JTCI, and later to ECMA worldwide. In other hand, learning management system was firstly developed by Sydney Press in 1920s. Using a typewriter, Sydney's LMS offered some common sense activities and some decision questions that will be answered by the student. Then the answer of every student was checked and recorded into a machine in 2000. Moodle was developed. Moodle is an LMS that can be downloaded in the device of every user. Moodle was become beneficial to some students in sending and sharing files that time.
Hi everyone, I am Derek Jandelyames. Next is our statement of the problem. But first, let Mr. Bardelosa explain what is SOP.
Statement of the problem, or SOP. Purposely to explain what the study intends to accomplish. It outlines the problem addressed by a study.
The researchers aim to focus in some situation that most of the students are struggling. These problems were evaluated and discussed in the whole study. First, was students struggles to find accurate resources and having secured accounts. Most of the students are having trouble to find resources about their activities. Some needs to create an account or pay just to have required resources. Also, some of their accounts was easily hacked and accessed by anyone because it doesn't have enough account security. Second is the cost that will be involved implementing, purchasing, and for the setup of LMS. For developing such a system, money should be involved in planning. And the last is the limitation of the students in acquiring trainings for students. When it was developed and promoted to public, there are times that it was lagged due of storage capacity of the device or many users are using the system.
Hi everyone, my name is Marco Angeliames and I will discuss the proposed hypothesis of the researchers. Before proceeding, Mr. Krenkoy will explain what is hypothesis in research.
Research hypothesis is an assumption or prediction for a purpose idea that should be tested to know if it's not true or not.
The first one, Aspire Learning Management System will be effective to students in monitoring and improving their learning process. The researchers believe that Aspire LMS can be used and beneficial to the users, mostly to students and instructors, in improving or increasing the performance level of the learners. Next is the researchers could say that Aspire Learning Management System can secure the accounts of every users with the use of Java. Researchers believe that Aspire LMS can secure the accounts of the users in the process of authentication. Next is, it needs a huge amount of money in implementing the Aspire Learning Management for setting up the students. The researchers assume more than 100,000 in order to successfully develop such a system. Next is, the researchers could say that a spiral learning management system can cause irritation to the students because of system malfunctions. Malfunctions like lagging, where it can cause so much irritation on the users. Last is, the promotion of a spiral learning management system can be approved or rejected. The researchers think that there's always a possibility that a spiral learning management system can be rejected or approval because of the performance of it.
Hi everyone, I'm Mark Jan Kainkoy. Before presenting our objective, Mr. Nabilia will discuss what is objectives in research.
Objectives in research describe what is the goal of the study or what is trying to achieve.
Our objective was providing or promoting a system where it can be able to help not just to the student but also the instructor and every user of the system. Second is encouraging the student in online education having an access to manage or organize their activities online while learning it effectively. That's why it was named Inspire Learning Management System to accomplish a particular goal. Third is having a system that can secure the privacy and information of the users and also to communicate effectively online without having troubles. Fourth was increasing the performance and improving their learning skill by the use of learning materials provided. And last is managing the time that consumed by the student while studying.
Hi, I'm Ace Valencia. Before we discuss the conceptual framework, I want you to know that the conceptual framework illustrates the relationships of the variables in your study.
Hi, I'm Jordan Beheno, and I'll explain our conceptual framework where it shows the workflow of the Aspire Learning Management System. We use an IPO model or Input Process Output model in describing the Aspire Learning Management System, whereas the input area shows the data will be included in the process of the LMS, like classroom management, provider security, learning materials, and giving out activities. While in the process area shows the tasks required to perform in order to input the data that shows in the input area, like creating class, creating users, creating subjects, creating activities, and creating quizzes. In the last for output area, it shows the application that can perform all the tasks and it stores data that was given in input, and process area, which is the Aspire Learning Management System application. In general, creating classrooms was easier in using Aspire Learning Management System as it provided by tools and data that can be useful for students. Also, conducting an examination, giving files, and providing learning materials was not difficult at all, as it has given tools provided. And in creating users, Aspire Learning Management System also provides user security, whereas you can be sure of your privacy.
I am Cyril Barderosa, and I will discuss about the scope and delimitation of our study. But before that, scope means the parameter in which the relation of the population and time frame, while delimitation is the limitation or the factors and variables that will not be included in your research. Our study was mainly focused in promoting the LMS and increasing the student performance by the use of it. The researchers uses a survey questionnaires as an instrument for the research study. In selection, the respondents we use purpose sampling where we select the student purposely. We conduct the study for both grade 11 and 12 ICT students in Asian Institute of Computer Studies. The student that participates was section IC2, IC1DA, IC2MA, IC2MB, IC2DA, IC2DB, and IC2DC.
Moving on, our significance of the study aims to explain the effect and importance of Aspire learning management to the majorities like youth includes teenagers, students, and the users. Youth has a great benefit in using LMS like they can communicate with their classmates and friends anytime and anywhere. Just make sure you have internet connection. It can also affect the parents because they can lessen the expenses of their children in using LMS. Teachers can be affected by helping their works and tasks to do more efficient and don't consume so much of their time. And last, for the future researchers, where they can use the present study to have an idea in performing their future research studies.
As for Chapter 1 is the definition of terms, which intends to discuss some terms that can be seen in the review of related literature and studies. First is algorithm. It was mostly used in problem solving, whereas its step-by-step procedure to perform a specific task. Next is aspire. It means to accomplish a goal or a task. Next is database. That is a set of data organized in electronic devices. Next is J48. It is an algorithm that generates a decision and occupies more memory space. Java is a general-purpose programming language which can be developed system, datas, and applications. Learning Management System or LMS is a software application that used for managing and organizing learning materials for the users. Modular Object-Oriented Dynamic Learning Environment, or mostly known as Moodle, was also a kind of LMS, but it mostly modules as a learning material. Next is online learning or virtual learning. It's another way of learning but with use of technology and internet. Portable Object-Oriented Dynamic Learning Environment, or also known as Poodle, is also a kind of LMS. It was a portable version of Moodle where you use portable devices like flash drives, USBs, or CDs in storing the files for learning materials. Programming is a way of coding which creates instructions to perform a task. Software application is type of programming that performs specific functions. And last, system is a collection of elements organized in common purpose.
Moving on, the researchers collected literature and studies where it has a connection to the present study. The literature and studies gathered are in the year of 2015 and above. Review of related literature purposely to understand more of the present study and debates for the relevant past researches that has a connection in our study. First was the local related literature gathered. According to the article, LMS is an open source where people with accounts can edit, improve, or even develop the functionalities and content of the LMS. It was widely used in education, but also companies use LMS to train their agents, like AAMC Training. AAMC Training uses LMS as a tool for supporting the training plans and development of their staffs.
On the other hand, for the given foreign-related literature, LMS was defined as a software that is used for assessing, monitoring, and researching information according to Gilay. It was an online-based education for higher education and other institutional education. LMS helps in managing the students' tasks like assessments, learning materials, and online registrations.
For the local related studies, a study about LMS in 2017 attempts to improve or enhance the LMS. Because many people uses LMS, the past researchers attempt to improve their LMS. The result that gathered shows that J48 was clearly need for enhancing LMS as it is used in storing data and clear more memory space. The result of the study also shows that LMS can be enhanced by the use of LMS.
Foreign-related studies, given where they show the prototype approach in introducing their design of LMS. Their LMS was kind of games that can be used by teachers and learners in conducting a discussion or lesson, while the other given study shows the fairly bias of presenting gathered data about the students that have struggles and LMS and students that didn't have much trouble in using LMS.
Next is our questionnaire. It was based on our SOP with 10 items and can be answered as strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, and strongly disagree. Our survey was conducted using the Google Forms.
And now, presenting our questionnaire, which have a connection in our SOP, we use Likert scaling that express how agree or disagrees the respondents about a given statement. A questionnaire was also created in Google Forms where we need in conducting a survey.
And now that we knew the content of our Chapter 1 and 2, we will now proceed to the Chapter 3, which explain the methodology of our study. First, in the research method we use in gathering data or creating a better understanding about the topic.
The research method used for the present study was mainly a descriptive research because it was describing the population and the situation of the population. The researchers used IPO model or input process output model in presenting the LMS using Java. The participant was tested using the online survey questionnaire where asked also the instrument used by the researchers.
Next is the data gathering method, which describe the methods we use in gathering or collecting the data and measuring the information on variables of interest.
As online survey, questionnaire was used as the instrument, sending the links for the respondents. Was method used of the researchers in the data gathering. The questionnaire was made in the Google form. Then after the links were copied and sent it to the participant. It reached 2-3 days after the survey was finished. After the survey in the respondent, the online questionnaire in the Google form have been closed and the researchers start to analyze the data gathered.
The main target population of the study are ICT students in Asian Institute of Computer Studies. The researchers use proposed sampling in selecting the student. Proposing sampling techniques was used in choosing the respondents purposely. As the result, a total of 25 ICT students was selected as the participant of the study. It includes IC1DA, IC2MA, IC2MB, IC2DB, IC2DA, and IC2DC.
Moving on is on the respondents of our study, which describe the students who participates in our study.
As mentioned, 25 ICT students was selected as the participant. That includes both grade 11 and 12 senior high school students. ICT students were from IC1DA, IC2MA, IC2MB, IC2DA, IC2DB, and IC2DC.
And for the last discussion in Chapter 3, we have statistical treatment of data, which present the formula we use in interpreting data gathered.
For the presentation of data, we use the formula for percentage because it needs to find the percentage and frequency of the students who answered strongly agree, neutral, disagree, and strongly disagree. The presented formula is percentage equals frequency divided by into the total number of the respondents multiplied in 100, and computed total should be in a percent form.
Moving on is the Chapter 4, which shows the presented, analyzed, and interpreted data gathered by us.
After conducting the survey, we analyze and interpret the data using graphs and tables. The first graph shows the presentation of the age of the respondents, where 96% are 16 to 20 years old and 4% are 22 to 23 years old. Therefore, most of the respondents are 16 to 20 years old.
The second graph showed the presentation of data in terms of the grade level and section of the respondents. The graph showed the most number of the respondents what is section IC2DC with total of 7 respondents, and the least was from IC2MA that has a total of 1 respondent.
Moving on to the profiles of the respondents, Table 1 shows the frequency and percentage distribution in the research question number 5. Learning management system like Teams or Google Meet is mostly used by the students. The data shows that most of the students' answers agree and strongly agree, which means that LMS nowadays was mostly used by the students.
The Table 2 includes 2 tables that was mainly about security and privacy of the users. The first table was about the secureness of files and accounts of the users. Most of them strongly agree with a total of 92%, which means students agrees to the research questions. Number 1, that students want a system that can secure files and accounts.
The second table is about information tracking, where most of the respondents agrees, but also some must natural answer and few disagrees. The results show that not every student will agree that information tracking should be implemented in LMS because of their privacies.
Next is the table 3. That is also composed of 2 tables that talk about listening the expenses of the student. Table 3.1 shows the presentation of data in terms of the usage of load or data. Most of the respondents strongly agrees in the research question. Number 2, students like a system that can consume much of load or data.
On the other hand, Table 3.2 that shows the data for the research question number 8. Learning management system can lessen the school expenses and can pass school works effortless, shows that most of the students just agree with the statement and some has a neutral and disagree answers. Therefore, most of the students believe that LMS can lessen school expenses, but not so sure.
Proceeding in the table 4 that also composed of 2 tables that mainly focus on the improvement of performances of the respondents. The first table, which is table 4.1, shows the percentage of frequency distribution in research question number 2. Students need a system that can improve learning skills and abilities. It clearly shows in the table that most of the students believes that LMS can improve the skills and abilities of the learners.
Then we have the table 5, which mainly focus to the controlment in time and files of the students while using LMS. Table 5.1 present the data gathered in research. Question number 6, students can manage the files easily using learning management systems like Google Drive or Teams. It shows in the table that most of the grade 11 and grade 12 respondents answered agree and few answered neutral and disagree. Therefore, there's a chance that the users finds difficult to use LMS, especially in handling files.
And the next table was about the research question number 10. Learning management system can increase the learning performance of the students. The table shows that some of the students answered strongly agree, but few also answered agree and neutral, which means that some of the students just have doubts that LMS really helps to increase the learning performance of the users.
The table 5.2 presented the data gathered in question number 9, which is learning management system should manage the time and works given to the students. Table 5.2 has more respondents that answered neutral than table 5.1, which means the users feel unsure for an LMS to manage the time and work for the students.
Moving on to table 6, which mainly focus to the virtual communication of the users using LMS. Table 6 shows the collected data for research question number 7. which is student can communicate online with teacher and classmate anytime and anywhere. It clearly showed that most of the students were strongly agree about the given statement, but few still answer neutral and disagree.
Based on the presented data that is analyzed by the researchers, we could say that most of the students use LMS these days, and as an effect, the respondents want to have a more good LMS where it can manage the files of the users, can secure every account, can lessen the school expenses, and can improve the learning performance of the learners.
Proceeding to the Chapter 5, which is the summary of findings, conclusion, and recommendations of the researchers are presented. But before Mr. Liames discuss the summary of findings, Mr. Lavilla will explain first what is summary of findings in research.
Summary of finding explains the most important outcome. The treatment of data. It aims to provide a discussion for each of the findings.
Based on the interpretation and analysis of data, the profile of the respondents was mostly in 16 to 20 years old, while the most number of the students that participate in our study was from IC2MB, and the total is 7 participants. And the list was IC2MC with a total of participants. For the question that can be answered by strongly disagree, neutral, agree, and strongly agree. It clearly shows in the table 1 to 6, most of the students' answers agree or strongly agree, but still few have neutral and disagree answers. Therefore, because of the findings presented by graphs and tables, the researchers analyzed that students want a more useful LMS which the instructors and learners should benefit.
As conclusion means the summarization of points of evidence, we included that based on the findings, as per learning management system is beneficial for both learners and instructors, as Aspire have a goal securing the files and accounts of the student and many more useful functions, which is beneficial to instructor and learners. We also believe that as online learning was still implemented because of pandemic, students need more good LMS for conducting an online discussion. As per LMS can be served as powerful e-learning tool in ICE for both student and teacher.
And finally, the recommendation of the researchers, which means suggestion made by the researchers based on the result of our research.
We would like suggest some information to student. Aspire Learning Management System can be used as a tool in controlling the school works for students and managing their time in terms of school discussion. We also like to recommend the present study to the future researchers who might work with some research studies that have a connection in our thesis. For the admins and teachers to also use LMS as another tool for learning and conducting as online discussion for students, and for the parents for having another technique in teaching for their sons or daughters, especially this day due of pandemic.
As for our references or bibliography, we use APA format in presenting the references we use in this study.
Gusto ko lang pong sabihin na thank you sa mga groupmates ko sa pakikipag-cooperate at paggawa ng kani-kanilang task sa bawat binibigay ko. And thank you rin po kay Ma'am Apply sa pag-advise at pag-guide sa amin para po matapos ng maayos yung thesis namin. At sa mga classmates at friends po na nagmo-motivate para matapos yung thesis namin. Thank you po.
My message for my fellow students and fellow ICT strand students: stay safe and God bless. Thank you for listening in our presentation.
I want to thank my group mates because we finished our study right on time and for their participation. That's all.
Gusto ko lang magpasalamat sa mga kagrupo ko, sa lahat ng mga nag-effort sa kanya-kanyang task para magawa itong thesis. Lalong-lalo na sa leader namin si Kyla. Maraming salamat. Ito lang masasabi ko. Good luck sa journey nyo. Wish you all the best.
Gusto ko lang pong magpasalamat sa aking mga kagrupo, lalong-lalo na sa aming leader na si Kaida. Tapos nagpapasalamat po ako sa aming mga guro. Ayun lang po, maraming salamat.
Nagpapasalamat po ako sa araw na ito kasi natapos na po namin yung ginawa po namin thesis. At po successful naman po yung nagawa po namin. Maraming salamat po sa pagtutulungan namin member sa bawat naka-assign sa amin na chapter. Tsaka po, yun ko lang po naranasan itong pag-thesis na ito sa grade 12 po. Sana po marami po ako matutunan. Tsaka madala ko po ito sa college. Sa college kung matutunan ko sa thesis. Hindi lang po yung at saka yung pagtutulungan po ng bawat isa sa gawain po sa thesis. At po yung ayun lang po, maraming salamat.
Thanks to our groupmates that always participate to successfully complete our study. That's all. Thank you.
Since natapos na ang aming thesis at okay na ang lahat, ipapasalamat ako sa aming teacher at leader na si Kyla na walang sawang paggabay para matapos at magawa ito ng maayos. At inaasahan ko na sana maging maganda ang resulta na itong ginawa naming thesis. Yun lang po. Salamat. God bless.
Nagpapasalamat ako sa aming guro sa paggabay niya sa aming paggawa ng thesis. At sa leader namin, nagpapasalamat din po ako dahil lagi siya nakasuporta sa lahat ng mga kagrupo niya. Yun lamang po. Salamat.